I'm Natalia Bonner. Happy October! Today we're going to be stitching the 9-patch start. I love this quilt block. I love all of these, but I'm really excited again to share this one with you today. So if you're brand new, if you're just joining me today, over the last year, throughout this whole entire year, the first of every single month, I am sharing a step-by-step video tutorial teaching you how to machine quilt a star quilt block. All of these blocks that I am stitching on are 12-inch blocks. Now, along with the stitch along, besides all these fun videos that I have been sharing, we do have a couple of companion workbooks. We have a piecing workbook that teaches you how to piece all 12 of these block designs. Plus, we also have a machine quilting workbook that shows you the design like this, all stitched out. And then it also has a blank page where you can sketch, doodle, and draw your own machine quilting designs. So awesome. These workbooks are a really great resource. We have those available over on our website, pieceandquilt.com. The thread that I am using here today is so fine on the top. On my bobbin, I am using bottom line thread, and I am using one layer of the Quilter's Dream Poly Deluxe batting. Let's get stitching. I'll start out by using my mini 4-in-1 machine quilting ruler and stitching in the ditch all the way around the outside of my quilt block. Once I have completed the stitch in the ditch work, now I'm ready to start working on my block. I love the stitch in the ditch look, so it's something you're definitely going to see on many of my quilt blocks. Starting in this first light pink triangle, I'm going to start out by stitching in the ditch around that triangle. Then from there, I'm going to travel in 1/4 of an inch and add an inside echo around the outside of that pink triangle block. Once I've stitched that echo design, now I'm going to fill this triangle in with some swirls. I do teach you step-by-step how to quilt swirls in my book and online class, Beginner's Guide to Free Motion Quilting. But when you're stitching those out, always think about leaving yourself an out. Once I've completed that first triangle, then I'll move down, stitching down the block to the next one where I'm going to repeat the same process. So as you're quilting, you could go through and do all of the stitch in the ditch work and then come back and do all of the free motion quilting. For me, I feel a sense of gratification, instant gratification, if I just do one at a time. So that's the reason why I quilt the way I do. Once I've completed that light pink triangle, then I'm going to travel down to the bottom of the block where I'll repeat that process in that first triangle. Then I'll move on and repeat the same process in the next triangle, starting out with the stitch in the ditch, adding the inside echo, and then filling in again with some swirls. From there, I'll move over to the next corner where I'm going to repeat this process again on the light pink triangle. I'll continue that process on each of those light pink triangles until I get to the top of the block. When I get to that top triangle, now from there, I'm going to stitch in the ditch, traveling down where I'm going to start working on the blue triangles. So I stitched in the ditch down to the bottom of the first triangle. From there, I'll use the curved side on my mini 4-in-1 machine quilting ruler and stitch a point-to-point curve along the triangle. From there, now I'm going to fill in the bottom side of that curve with some loops, starting out small in the corner, getting larger, filling in that curved section completely until I get to the opposite side. From there, now in more of the maroon color, I'm going to start in the corner and stitch a large swirl, swirling into the center, then leaving enough room to stitch back out, and finish that design in the opposite corner. From that point, I'll travel along the ditch across the bottom of the block, where I'm going to now start working on the next blue triangle, starting out with that point-to-point curve, then filling in the bottom side of that curve with those loops, again starting small and getting larger as I travel across my block. From there, I'll stitch in the ditch, completing that blue block design, moving over to the next corner with more of the maroon color block. I'll stitch in that block a large swirl, swirling into the center, and then finishing it by stitching out to the opposite corner. From there, I'm going to, again, like I did on the bottom side of the block, travel up the ditch, start out by stitching that point-to-point loop or curve on the blue section, and then filling in the bottom side of that curve with those loops, starting in one corner and stitching all the way across my quilt block. From there, then I'm going to travel up to the next corner where I'll again stitch a large swirl into the center and then stitching out to the opposite corner. From there, I'll travel along my ditch, moving over to the last blue block where I'll stitch again that point-to-point curve and fill in the bottom side of that curve with the loops. From that point, now I'm going to fill in that remaining pink section with those swirls. So this is something I could have done as I was going. There really isn't a reason as to why I didn't stitch out that background filler as I was going. Maybe I just got so excited to start working on the blue triangles that I just waited to come back and fill in this one later. But as long as I stitch it out, I'm okay if it's not done in the exact order of everything else. From there, I'm going to travel along the ditch. Now I'm going to work back towards the center of my block. In that center block, I'm going to use the regular 4-in-1 machine quilting ruler and stitch a point-to-point curve from one corner across the block to the opposite corner. When I get back to where I started, then I'm going to fill in that melon shape that I've created with my machine quilting rulers with some figure eights. I feel like figure eights give a really similar look as the loops. They're just slightly different. So this block has those nice point-to-point curves with fillers, and I feel like this complements it really nicely. Once I've stitched along that center portion with those figure eights, then I'm going to complete this design by finishing off the stitch in the ditch work and then stitching that last swirl in the corner block. From there, I'll mist away any marked points. Now don't forget, if you do want to see another variation of this quilt block design, make sure you hop over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Natalia Bonner. Have a great day, everybody.